Okay, good morning, everyone. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to dive on to lesson number 2, applications of probability. So, yesterday we started talking about probability. There's quite a bit of stuff that we talked about. All of that are introduction. So, today we're going to get in right onto it, the applications of probability. So, welcome to those people who are watching today, either through live streaming or watching after the live stream. And I also want to say today is Earth Day, so happy Earth Day to everyone. So let's dive right into this. Applications of probability are found in situations involving medications, warranties, insurance, lotteries, weather predictions, vehicle recalls, games of chance, and so much more. So this probability is actually seen in every part of our lives here. Yesterday I talked about probability of snowing on April 21st because I checked the weather station. They said the probability of snowing was 60%. So at the beginning of the day, it looks like it's a nice day. It's not going to snow, but later on in the afternoon, it snowed. So 60% chance of snow yesterday did happen. Did happen. So it's kind of nice. So weather predictions, that's something that we do all the time. So today, I looked at the weather, and it seems like there is no chance of rain. At least the one that I looked at. Uh, it's going to be nice and sunny, 14 degrees today. So that is their prediction in terms of weather. No chance of rain today. So hope you will have time today to kind of go outside and get some fresh air. So let's take a look at example number 1. Example number 1, a 21-sided die is rolled. So they're telling us there's like 21 sides in this dice. So they have a picture of the dice here, right? Normally we only see the 6-sided, but this one is interesting because it's 21 sides and it's rolled. State the probability of rolling 19 or 20. So what is the probability? And remember, when we talked about, probability, we don't use the word probability. Maybe we use the word probable, which is a root word for probability. Probability is basically chance. What is a chance of rolling a 19 or a 20? So the common notation for probability of rolling 19 or 20 is P, probability of 19 or 20. So because this is a 21-sided die, so we have 1, okay. So these are from 1 to 21. These are the possible outcomes. Okay. Now, because we're talking about possible outcomes, we are looking at theoretical probability. Okay, so I'm just writing all of these down for you. So when you go back and study your notes, you know what we're kind of talking about in here. So yesterday we talked about theoretical probability, and in terms of theoretical probability, we're looking at all possible outcomes. Okay, so because we have all of these numbers in here, it can show up as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 21. So now what is the probability that it would show up 19 or 20? So, well, how many 19s are there? There's only one 19. How many 20? There's only one 20. So the probability of showing 19 or 20. Now we look at how many 19s and 20s are there. There are only two of them. So 2 out of all of the possible outcomes. So that would be 2 out of 21. So 2, these are how many 19s and 20s are there? Okay, so there's only two of them, like one for 19 and one for 20. And then the 21 is how many possible outcomes? Okay, so we can write this as a fraction, 2 out of 21. Of course, we can express that as a decimal. So if you wanted to write that as a decimal, we can write down 2 divided by 21, and we're going to get like some decimal value, right? And then we can also write that as a percent. So we'll just leave it as a fraction in here. Okay, but in this situation, depending on what the question is, they might say, write this probability as a decimal, as a fraction, as a percent, or as um, as words. Okay, so actually, let's write that down. I want to make sure that I get that. So write it as a fraction is 2 out of 21. As a decimal, okay, as a decimal, I'm going to get 2 divided by 21. I'm going to get 0.0952. So if we were to round it off to two decimal places, this 5 will round off the 9 to 10, and then will be carried the 1 over here. So it's going to be 0.10. So that's a decimal. Now, if we want to do percent, so keep all of the decimals there and then multiplying it by 100 to get 9.52%. It's 9.52%. And then in words, it says going to be 2 out of 21. Okay, so all of these are part of example 1. Okay, so if you are watching this right now during live stream, and if you have any questions, feel free to write a comment and join us in our live chat. Okay, and don't be shy. So let's take a look at example number 2. Using the same 21-sided die, so that's this die over here. Okay, what is the determine P rolling 5 or less? Okay, now they're saying what is the probability of rolling a 5 or less? So I'm just going to write down the possible outcomes are 1, 2, Okay, so these are all of our possible outcomes. I'll bring it closer so it's probably better. So these are all possible outcomes from 1 to 21. We wanted, and then this is called the event. This is the one that we're interested in. This is the event that we're interested in, rolling a 5 or less. So looking at all of our possible outcomes, which ones are 5 or less? So 5 is right here, or less would be including the 4, including the 3, including the 2, and including the 1. So probability of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them. 5 out of numbers are 21. So we can write it as 5 out of 21. So that's a possibility, right? As a fraction. We can write that as a decimal. So I'm just going to do that here right now. And we've seen this before. So 5 divided by 21. That's our decimal value. So if you were to do a decimal, it's going to be 0 decimal 2 and then be rounded up to 4. So 0 decimal to 4. Okay, so that's a decimal value. And then how keeping all of these numbers in here, figuring out the percent. So multiply it by 100 to figure out the percent. There you go. So the decimal for percent would be 23.81. 23.81%. Okay. And also, possibly in words, if you write it in words, it would be 5 out of 21. Okay, that was pretty good. So we looked at example number 2, probability chance of rolling this event. This is the event. I'm just going to write down event. Let's see if I could. Yeah, this is that part. Okay. So let's jump into example number 3. In a school, there are 215 males and 258 females. One student is elected at random. State P male. So this tells us P male. P means probability of choosing a male. So if we line up all of our students in here in the school, there's 215 males and 258 females. So what is the chance of selecting a male? So let's take a look at possible outcomes. So there are 215 males and 258 females. So selecting somebody, so there, the possible outcomes, there are, let's write this down, 215 plus 258, 473 possibilities. There are 473 possible outcome. Okay, so because that's a combined outcome. So what is the probability that we're going to select a male student? What is the chance that we're going to select a male student? So, well, how many males are there? Okay, select a male student. How many male students are there? 215. Divided by how many possible outcomes? 473. Okay, so how many males divided by how many are there altogether? Okay, so, okay, I tried to write things down for you so you could figure out what's going on in there, how we got 473. Okay, so let's take a look at example number 4. Example number 4. State the probability of choosing a letter T from the words statistics. So all of these are theoretical probability. So these are the letters for the word statistics. What is the probability of ability? And then the event that we're talking about is choosing letter T. Okay, so because all of my letters are all lined up for the word statistics, now I'm going to take a look. Well, how many T's are there? There's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. Out of how many possible possible letters, possible outcomes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so choosing a letter T, the chance that we're going to choose a T would be 3 because there are 3 T's in there out of 10 possibilities. And of course, we can write that as a decimal, as a percent, and in terms of words. So we can say this is number of T's and this is how many possible outcomes. And the word possible outcomes means I can choose an S, I can choose an A, I can choose other letters. So these are all my possible outcomes. So let's write that down. So 3/10. And then writing it as a fraction is this one. Writing it as a decimal, we can write that as a decimal, as a percent. So we can say 3/10 is equals to 0.30. Okay, so 3 divided by 10. So 3, changing the fraction into decimal. 3 divided by 10. Okay, this line means divide. We're going to get a 0.3. But if we want to write that as a 2 decimal places, we just add a 0 at the end. And then we can write that as a fraction, as a percent. So times by 100. So that's 30%. Or we can say it in words. We can say 3 out of 10. Okay. 3 T's out of the 10 letters. Okay. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to um, say something, and hopefully I can answer your question. Okay. So I did mention this is going to be a short lesson, which is kind of nice. We'll have more time to do a little bit of work. So let's take on example number 5. Okay. Example number 5 says, random testing of cell phones show that 2 out of 500 cell phones, okay, so they're telling us some kind of a probability in here in words. 2 out of every 500 cell phones are defective. Okay. State the probability of a randomly selected cell phone not being defective. Okay. So they're saying that 2 out of 500 are defective. So probability that cell phone is defective. Okay, I'm just going to write that down here. The chance the cell phone is defective is 2 out of 500. So we can 500. Okay. Now, so this is the event. This is the event. This is something that we're interested in. This is what we're interested in terms of probability. Or at least that's what's given. But the question says state the probability of a randomly selected cell phone not being defective. So because you have some are defective, some are not defective. So what is now a chance of being not defective? So this is the complement. Complement. Complement of the probability. So if there are 2 that are defective out of everything, what is the chance, what is the probability that cell phone not defective? Okay, so out of the 500 phones, 2 are defective, then how many are not defective? So it would be 500 over 500. That's the whole amount, that's the whole thing. Okay, and we're gonna take away 2 out of 500 that are defective. So how many are there? So 500 minus 2 is 498 out of 500. Okay, so 498 out of 500 are not defective. Okay, now let's take a look at letter B, and then this is the final example. If the cell phone company manufactures 10,000 cell phones, determine how many you would expect to be defective. So they're saying that if 2 out of the 500 are defective, And then you have a whole bunch of cell phones, 10,000 of them. How many are we expecting to be defective? So I'm going to show you two different ways of solving this part. I'm going to show you, here we go. Let's try that. So you can say 2 out of 500. And if we multiply it by 10,000, 2 divided by 500, that's the probability. And then if we multiply it by 10,000, we're going to get 40. 40 defectives. Okay. Now here's the other. Okay, so if you want, you could try that one. That's one way of solving that. Here's another way using the ratio. So we go 2 are defective out of 500. So how many are defective out of 10,000? Okay, so here's the other possibility. 2 out of the 500 are defective. So how many are defective per 10,000? And if you've taken the grade 11 essentials, we would have talked about the solving of equations. So we're going to cross multiply this part there, cross multiply. So that becomes x is 2 times 10,000 divided by 500. And then we're going to come across the answer of 40 cell phones as well. 40 defective cell phones. Here's the other thing that I'm going to show you. Maybe this one will help a little bit. Okay. So we know that for every batch of 500, this is a 500 cell phones in here, there's going to be 2 that are defective. Those are the 2 defectives. So if we have 10,000, so how many 500s are there in 10,000? So we can go 10,000 divided by 500. There's going to be 20 500s. So this is another batch of 500, another batch of 500, another batch of 500. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so I'm just gonna raise it up a bit. You can see the whole thing. So these are the batches of 500s. 500, 500. So these are the 500s. Cell phones that were produced. Okay, now each 500, two are defective. So there's 2 that are defective, 2 there, 2 there, 2. Okay. So in each, so now in each of these, there are two that are defective. So how many are there altogether? So if you count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40. So 40 are defective. So that's one way of looking at things. So you can think about it. You can solve it this way, of course. You can solve it using ratio and proportion. And then I just showed you the visual part of it. So for every 500 batch of cell phones produced, there are two are defective. Okay, so there you have it. We finished this probability lesson number 2. There are some questions in here on assignment number 2 for you to practice on. Okay, so this is that assignment number 2, and this is the other page. Um, Certainly take a look at those ones, and then we'll um, we'll continue this. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. I will also have the Google Meet set up for you. So you can just go to Google Meet, go to the blog, and then you can click on the Google Meet. You might have to log into your Google account for our school. And then, yeah, just if you have any questions, I will be there to answer whatever question you have. Um, and if I don't respond right away, I might be teaching the class. I might be live streaming. So keep on trying again. Okay. So again, happy Earth Day. And I wish you a really good day of learning and working from home. Okay. Have a great day. Okay. Bye bye.